In today's news, Red Sun Aromatherapy launches VI Candle line and BVI legislator saves youth getting pushback when trying to start a business.
U.S. ICE targets international students who are in the country on visa. All this and so much more when 284 News returns.
There's a reason you get up on a morning. A reason you pick yourself up, start the day. Maybe it's sheer grit. Maybe it's your ethics. Maybe it's because you know people like you are waiting. For people just like you. We all have our reasons, and for Republic Bank, that reason is you. Every little thing, every big thing. It's all about making a difference in your life. Because after 182 years, if it's one thing we're sure about, is that the difference is you. We're here to help.
Republic Bank, we're the one for you.
I love you, Penny. Run, Forrest, run!
Move out.
Man, I'm sick of being in this house. I just want to go to the beach, go out, go just one day, and gather to the garden. I'm sick of being in this house.
Having withdrawals from being stuck in the house for so long? Are you tired of looking at your old photos and daydreaming about your next vacation? Well, BVI Staycation is back, and there's so much to choose from. For more information on upcoming deals, follow us on Facebook at BVI Staycation. Get ready, BVI, for an adventure in paradise. It's time to vacation where we live.
Welcome everybody, it's Tuesday, July 7th, 2020, a terrific Tuesday that is, in Nature's Little Secrets. I'm Ron Grant.
And I am Kyla Kenesha Forbes, yet another edition of 284 News. Now, Ron, we have much to get into, so let's just get right into it. Now, the Social Security Board is basically making a last call for to the general public, and they're basically saying that applications for the COVID-19 underemployment benefits must be submitted by the deadline of Wednesday, July 15th, 2020, Ron. So employees and self-employed persons who have lost employment or a portion of their income as a direct result of the COVID-19 pandemic can claim for unemployment or underemployment benefits. This is something that we've been speaking about amidst COVID-19. Now, these persons who are applicable and can actually apply for these benefits must have been in insurable employment for at least 1 year prior to March 30th, 2020, must have paid at least 13 out of 20 contribution weeks immediately before March 30th, 2020, and persons over 65 years and or currently receiving benefits from the Social Security Board or from any other form of government program cannot benefit from these benefits. Now, the government, of course, wants to ensure that there is no double dipping of any sort. And now persons can find application form online at www.vissb.vg. That is the official Social Security Board website. Yeah, Ron, so persons who have not yet claimed and is eligible to claim
have another opportunity
definitely
to do so.
wants to jump onto that as soon as possible.
A very important Carla story as we continue to navigate through COVID-19, and we know hundreds of persons earlier on lined up outside of Social Security in hopes of getting some sort of assistance. So we're happy to see that they are getting one last hoorah, one last opportunity to make claims if they are in such a position.
My only question would be, what is next? Because if persons are still feeling the blunt of COVID-19. COVID-19 is still around and still affecting many businesses, many employers, many employees. So if persons are still affected by COVID-19 after this deadline, then what is the next move for the government?
That's a very good question, and I'll say so because, as we all know, the government gave provisions for the extension of the unemployment period where persons could be laid off without being fired.
Yes.
So first it was 3 months, and now it's been extended to
6
months. So what we have to understand is that perhaps they might have had that 3-month leeway, but what happens for the additional 3 months, particularly as banks offered a 3-month moratorium on loans and all that kind of stuff. So it kind of beckons the question, just like you said, what's next, and what will persons do who are still unemployed for that remainder of the 3 months? So we'll continue to keep the Virgin Islands community posted on this story. Continuing on the local scene, in a recent Facebook post, the Honorable Alvaro Maduro Keynes, representative for the 6th Electoral District, made a post about the lack of support young people face when trying to start a business. She said, and I quote, "The fact that when young persons try to start a business, the pushback they get from some of us who are already in a successful business. I don't want to hear that old talk about youths don't want to do this or that. It's the way they are treated by some of us who are successful already that depresses them. Don't want to give them a hand up to try to start their own business. If someone did not give some of us a helping hand, where would we be? Yet we turn our backs on some who are struggling to get started. Now some of us who would not even listen to our future, but how? And still say that the youth are the future. By working for the man till they are ready to be buried, some of us made it and have become so selfish and envious." Now, this post was recently made by the Honorable Alvaro Maduro Keynes. Now, with that being said, Kyla, many young persons continue to push forward with creating concepts that allow them to not only use their gifts and talents, but make a dollar at the end of the day. Now, one prime example of persistence and strength is Miss Shanae Walters of Red Sun Aromatherapy candle line here in the Virgin Islands, who recently launched, and I had the honor of sitting with Miss Walters, who gave some very encouraging words to the youth of the general public as it pertains to business. Take a look at our interview. Viewers and friends, welcome to 284 Media. I'm Ron Grant. COVID-19 has left many persons without jobs and wondering what they're going to do next, but it also leaves a great opportunity for persons who want to be creative, intuitive, and just come up with some really good concepts that could possibly work through this global pandemic. With me today is the beautiful and talented Miss Shanae Walters of Red Sun Aromatherapy Candles here in the beautiful British Virgin Islands. She has a new line of candles, and I must say they are amazing. Before we get into it, I must tell you, there is nothing we like more at the Grants residence than some really, really awesome candles.
That's great.
So first of all, welcome to 284 Media.
Thank you for having me.
So Shanae, tell us about your brand.
Well, Red Sun Aromatherapy is my baby.
Okay.
It started off as a hobby, but I recently decided to just gear it towards focusing on creating positive spaces, focusing on mental wellness and
Nice.
also environmental sustainability.
Amazing. So tell us about some of the candles that we have here.
There's 6 in all. 3 of them, Sunset, Sunrise, and Ed and Love,
Okay.
are specifically geared towards mental wellness. Sunrise is cinnamon and mandarin. That one helps, gives you energy,
Okay.
wakes you up in the morning time. Ed and Love has in rose and vanilla oils. That one is just to make you feel some sort of love
Okay.
when you may be lacking in love,
Nice.
or if you want to share love with somebody else.
Awesome.
And then the third one is Sunset, which is lavender and rose. That one is for calming down, relaxing. I usually like that one at the end of the day. It helps me get into a nice mood.
Nice.
Yeah.
And my favorite so far, VI Morning.
VI Morning. I actually love that one. I like that
It's
one
my favorite as
every
well.
Saturday morning. It's green tea and lemongrass, and I know a lot of food melons love the smell of lemongrass.
Yes. And when you light it, I'll be honest with you guys, it literally makes you feel as though you're in the Virgin Islands.
Yep.
Awesome. Wonderful. What made you get into candles?
Well, like I said, it was a hobby back in 2014. My mom saw that I was collecting excess wax from different events I was at. So she took the initiative to get me some wicks and a candle pot to melt the wax. And then I started from there. But then recently, I gave a cousin a birthday gift. She told me she wanted a candle for Christmas. And then I told her, you know, I used to make candles a long time ago. And she was like, well, you should get back into it. And then a friend also pushed me into, you know, starting a business is a nice way to make extra money.
Of course.
So yeah, that's where it all came together.
So Red Sun Aromatherapy, ladies and gentlemen, has officially been launched in the Virgin Islands on July 3rd. And you have 6 different candles, as you said, 3 of which are aromatherapy, specific for aromatherapy, and the other 3 are just scented. Shanae, I think this is phenomenal, and I must applaud you. What encouragement would you give to young persons who may have a concept in mind, or perhaps like yourself have a hobby and they're very apprehensive? Sometimes it's nerve-wracking to put yourself out there in the public's eye and be vulnerable, but what has worked for you? What encouragement would you give to them?
Keep trying. It's very difficult, and sometimes it can be discouraging to put yourself out there, being afraid of negative feedback, or persons may not be wanting to support you, but nonetheless you should do what you know makes you feel great. Every idea you think may not be a great idea is great to somebody else. And I know a lot of persons as well have many ideas, but they don't have the finances to start those ideas. I think they should still keep trying. Talk to some people, see if anyone is willing to actually help you, and eventually you will get to where you want to go.
Great advice. So first of all, how can persons get hold of your candles? Where can they purchase? Is it online? Can they give you a call?
Right now I'm only on Instagram, and it's at redsun.aromas. If you're not on Instagram, I can give you guys my email or my number. I'll leave it with Ron, so you guys can message him. And I'm hoping to have a website up soon.
Not a problem. And tell us the price range of the candles.
They're all $20.
Okay, so they're all $20. Ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here. A variety of different fragrances. I think it is really important because you mentioned something about mental health and our ability to be calm, cool, collected. When you created these candles with love, which I can sense that very much, and you spoke about mental well-being, what is your aim that these candles will really do for persons who might not be having a good day or might be having a difficult time?
Well, let me just say this. I know here in the BVI, we don't talk a lot about mental health. Yes. And some persons may be afraid to seek therapy. So my goal for the candles is to just have that zen. And just confide in a friend with the use of candles, or just, you know, get into your self-care routine, whatever routine that may be. Some people use face masks, some get pedicures, some journal. So the candle is just to inspire you to be a better person and just to ground you in yourself.
Love it. Well, congratulations again, and thank you so much for stopping by. We are proud of you here at 284 Media. That is Red Sun Aromatherapy. We're going to make sure that we have the contact information available for you guys to check her out and support this local entrepreneur that is also not only selling but promoting the mental space and positive well-being of all Virgin Islanders and all of us as we traverse through these very difficult times that is COVID-19. Shanae, thank you so much for stopping by.
Thank you for having me, Ron.
You're most welcome.
Viewers, that was the talented Miss Shanae Walters of Red Sun Aromatherapy. Kyla, I personally feel that there might be some truth to the Honorable Alvaro Maduro's Kane's post about the lack of support that young people across the territory face when it comes to starting a business, be it support financially or just a listening ear. I think there's a huge generational gap as it pertains to what persons might be interested in, and whether or not persons within the community who may be in a position to give some advice are willing to not just shut down ideas. But here we have a wonderful example of local ingenuity, young ingenuity, persistence in that of Miss Shanae Walters.
Definitely. Ron, we are both on the younger side of the spectrum. Yes. And I think, yes, we're talking about businesses, which I do think as Honorable Alvaro Maduro Kane said, it has some truth to it, but also we see it in just simply mentorship and work in the workplace. We see it a lot of places. As you said, there is a generational gap, and what are we going to do about it? But I loved that interview with Miss Shanae Walters.
And we both purchased some candles.
We both actually got our candles today. Yes. from Mrs. Walters, and they smell heavenly.
I would definitely recommend the VI morning. That's my
Oh,
favorite.
well, I do have a joke for you and the viewers. The one very British Virgin Islands scent, the biggest scent that you could even think about that represents being a BVI
Yes.
lander, and you all know what that is,
It's a lemongrass, yeah.
I'm actually allergic to that, so I am very jealous
Sorry
of
for you,
you
friend.
right now, but it does smell heavenly. I got the Tropicana and the Sunset,
Awesome.
but all the scents really just speaks to the tropical nature of the British Virgin Islands. I think she has a really great array of scents and everything to do with it. So I definitely love it, and we do want to wish her all the best as she moves forward in this endeavor.
Indeed.
Most definitely. But viewers, still ahead, Deloitte donates laptops to the Ministry of Education, and the USVI COVID-19 cases continues to rise. Now all this and so much more when 284 News returns.
In the final analysis, we have two options: stay inside and create memories that will last forever, or go outside and say goodbye to those memories. We're not stuck inside, we're safer inside. The time is now to unite, embrace, and love each other from a distance. Show the world and the people in it just how much they mean to you by keeping your distance. It may be difficult, but necessary. Let's reintroduce humanity and heart to all homes. While we can't enjoy the sun, sand, and sea, let's take this time to remember why we are nature's little secrets. Stay inside, and when it's over, we would all be better, stronger, and we would all still be together. With self-discipline and patience, we can overcome. We are, have been, and will always be VI Strong. A message from your team at 284 Media.
Viewers, welcome back to 284 News. Now, the Ministry of Education, Culture, Youth Affairs, Fisheries, and Agriculture is the recipient of 15 laptops, courtesy of accounting and auditing firm Deloitte. The laptops were presented by lead partner of Deloitte, Miss Carlene Rubney, and Mrs. Derecia Scatliff Thomas, the operations officer over at Deloitte. And those laptops were given to, as we can see in the photo, Education Minister Dr. the Honorable Natalio D. Wheatley. Minister Dr. the Honorable Natalio said that the ministry is preparing for the new academic school year, where students will be exposed to online and face-to-face learning. The laptops will go to students in need of devices for blended learning in the new academic school year. Honorable Wheatley said, and I quote, "These laptops will allow some of the many students who still need devices to be able to participate in this blended learning experience." He added, and I quote, "We express our sincerest gratitude to Deloitte for their commitment to the education system as we make this transition. The Ministry of Education, Culture, Youth Affairs, Fisheries, and Agriculture looks forward to continued partnership as it strengthens the preparedness of students to cope with a changing global landscape and make a meaningful contribution to the society." Ron, we continue to see where corporate BVI
Yes.
is basically stepping in and doing their part. Here in that story, we see where, in the quote, the Minister of Education spoke a little bit about blended learning for the upcoming academic
Correct.
school year. And I know this is something that persons have
been wondering,
have been awaiting information about that. Although we don't know what structure that will take, we're definitely looking forward to more information about that.
Definitely. We want to thank Deloitte for stepping in and encourage a lot of other corporate companies to do the same. And as it pertains to blended learning, I think in the interim and perhaps moving forward, it is a interesting collaboration to see whether or not we could incorporate both aspects to the learning for the benefit of our students. Now, continuing on over in the U.S. Virgin Islands, the VI Department of Health is tracking 31 active cases of the coronavirus in the U.S. Virgin Islands, following the confirmation of 4 new cases on yesterday, July 6. The VI Consortium reported that the latest cases were spread equally between St. Croix and St. Thomas, with the cases on St. Thomas being transmitted through close contact, while the St. Thomas cases were under investigation as of Monday evening. To date, 3,354 tests have been performed in the U.S. Virgin Islands, with, according to the Department of Health, 116 positive. Now, the U.S. Department of Health, they were 55 test results pending as of Monday, and 79 individuals were tested or listed as recovered. 6 individuals, unfortunately, have died as a result of the COVID-19 disease. On Monday, Governor Albert Bryan announced a temporary ban on new incoming contracts for Lime Tree Bay last week. A total of 21 coronavirus cases were reported at the oil refinery and storage terminal located on the south shore of St. Croix. He also announced that as of Monday, July 13th, incoming travelers whose state of origin were Arizona, Texas, or Florida are required to have a negative COVID-19 test within 72 hours of travel, or a positive antibody test, meaning that they had the virus and the antibodies that they will be tested for in the system for at least 6 months. He said, and I quote, "If you cannot produce this negative test result, of course, we cannot turn you around at the airport, but you will be subject to a 14-day quarantine," said Governor Albert Bryan. Now, Mr. Bryan said that his administration would continue to reassess the travel policy every 2 weeks to determine if any updates need to be made to the hot spot list. Local restrictions are unchanged. There are no notable changes in local protocols announced during Mr. Bryan's press briefing on Monday. Beaches are reopened for regular visits, and bars are required to close at 12 midnight with last call at 11 p.m. Now, the governor insisted that all was still safer at home. However, he does not believe that the territory is at a stage where restrictions need to be walked back to the safer at home policy phase of reopening. Now, the protocols that were put in place, according to the governor of the Virgin Islands, assisted in identifying positive cases during the recent spike in numbers. As of Monday, there were 27 active cases being tracked, 56 tests pending, with 6 individuals that were scheduled to be tested today, and 1 hospitalization at the Wanaflui Hospital on St. Croix. There were no hospitalizations on St. Thomas. Kyla, Governor Albert Bryan and his team over there, the health professionals, continue to do their very best. One of the things that he said that I found very interesting, and I think persons need to understand, is being a U.S. territory as they are, he said clearly that we can't refuse persons coming from the U.S., obviously, but they can insist that the mandatory 14-day quarantine be put in place if the tests are not negative and the antibodies show something different. They continue to do their best, but we still see a spike. We still see a spike in cases. We continue to see a rise in cases, and as it pertains to their local adherence and their policies, beaches are still open, as well as bars and restaurants as well. So their policy is their policy, and they're continuing to do their best.
Yeah, we've been keeping viewers updated on the statistics over in the USVI. As you said, 116
Yes.
cases have came back
Positive.
and 55 test results are now pending. So we will be keeping a close eye on that as this story develops.
All right, still ahead, ladies and gentlemen, names of companies in the USVI that received between $150K to $10 million from Paycheck Protection Program, they have been revealed, and U.S. ICE targets international students on visa. All this and more is a very important story as we continue our newscast here. You're watching 284 News.
You want top of power?
You want top of power?
Join the prepaid party with CCT and enjoy more affordable data plans, more top-up promotions, more savings with hero bundles, and more value for your money each and every Tuesday with Top Up Turn Up Tuesday. Visit a CCT store today or anywhere CCT Top Up is sold and top up your phone.
5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. You want top of power?
Viewers, welcome back. You're watching 284 News. Continuing on over in the U.S. Virgin Islands, after unrelenting pressure from key U.S. senators, the VI consortium has reported that media and powerful interest groups have seemingly forced the Trump administration on Monday to release the list of companies throughout America, including U.S. territories that received between $150,000 to $10 million from the Paycheck Protection Program, also known as PPP, whose aim was to help companies keep their workers employed after the coronavirus pandemic brought the largest economy in the world to a near halt. Now, in the U.S. Virgin Islands, according to data provided by the Small Business Administration, 150 companies fell in the $150 to $10 million category. Among them were some of the territory's largest firms, including PSI, the tire supply, which received between $5 million to $10 million, according to the SBA data. PSI Tire Supply was the only firm based in the U.S. Virgin Islands in the aforementioned category, making it the largest recipient of PPP funds in the territory. PSI Tire Supply and EDA recipient have employees throughout the United States. Now, according to the data, the funding was used to protect some 439 employees. PSI Tire Supply received the funds through the Greater Nevada Credit Union. Right after PSI Tire Supply was Avia. The communications firm received between $2 million to $5 million through Banco Popular, making it the second largest recipient of PPP funds. The funds were used to protect some 253 employees, according to the data. Among the entities were nonprofits, including churches and schools. Antilles School in St. Thomas received between $1 million to $2 million, according to the data. Good Hope Country Day on St. Croix received between $350,000 to $1 million. The Free Will Baptist Church in Scion Hill, St. Croix received between $150,000 to $350,000, while the Diocese of the Virgin Islands, located in St. Thomas, was the recipient of funds in a $350,000 to $1 million category as well. Now, in media, the Virgin Islands Daily News, listed as Daily News Publishing Co., Inc., received between $350,000 to $1 million, and the St. Croix Avis, listed in Broadhurst Printery, Inc., received between $150,000 to $350,000. Newly formed, the Strategy Group received between $350,000 to $1 million from the PPP program. Government-owned West Indian company called WICO received between $350,000 to $1 million as well. Now, relative to the hospitality industry, the hardest hit during the pandemic, the Buccaneer Hotel on St. Croix received between $1 million to $2 million. Emerald Beach Corp between $350,000 to $1 million. Bolongo Bay Beach Resort, listed as Harborside Corporation, received between $350,000 to $1 million. The consortium reported in April that luxury hotel Ritz-Carlton in St. Thomas and the affiliate company that caters to upscale Caribbean travelers took in some more than $5.5 million from federally backed funding intended for small businesses devastated by COVID-19 crisis. In April, Governor Bryant said that over 240 Virgin Islands businesses had received funds from the Paycheck Protection Program. On the list received on Monday, however, are companies that received between $150,000 to $10 million. Governor Bryant said, and I quote, "I want to encourage all small businesses to please take advantage of this program." Kyla, a very interesting story where we see it would appear as though a lot of pressure from the media and the public was forced to have the U.S. administration list, and the list is quite detailed and quite long, but persons wanted to know exactly who and what were receiving what funds. So for more on that information and for a detailed list of those companies and exactly what they received, subject to what we described just now, you can visit our website at 284news.com. Accountability, I think, essentially is
I think that's what it is,
place,
being able to ask your government for information and to be able to get it. I think this information such as this should be public knowledge. Some people would say not, and most persons who would say not are the ones benefiting from it. But I think it's good that these numbers were made public. But Ron, we are wrapping up the newscast. We had one more important story, but viewers, you can catch that story on our website, as well as tune in tomorrow to hear more on this, because this is a developing story.
It affects us all,
But,
yes.
yeah, reports by CNN stated that international students who are pursuing degrees in the United States will have to leave the country or risk deportation if their university switches to online-only courses. And of course, such a story affects BVI students very much so. So viewers, you definitely do not want to miss this. But this is the end of our newscast. I am Kyla Kenesha Forbes.
And I'm Ron Grant. We will see you guys tomorrow. Have a beautiful Tuesday evening. Take care.
Bye-bye.